Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting. It's Monday, April 4th. Yes, I'm looking at the wrong meeting. Can everyone's here tonight? I see Lonnie. And sorry, give me a second because I pulled up the wrong agenda. I pulled up the April 14th one. Leave it to me. I know we need approval of the minutes, correct? Hold on, let me pull it up. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so we need.
Make a motion to approve the March 8th meeting minutes.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
We'll help you out, Teresa.
Thanks, I found it. Cool, thank you.
I have my hand up.
Thanks. All right, new business. We are going to add something else into this new business. We'll do the Tiff ideas and we'll do the quick claim. But one of the things we haven't had yet is a discussion amongst the board members regarding the warrant articles. So I want to, I guess, talk about all of them first. If anybody has any more questions, any more, changes or whatever, and then we can make the additions and then go from there. All right, so discussion of new program ideas for TIF review. Does anybody have any new ideas to stick into that? Don't all raise your hand at once.
No.
No?
We discussed a few at the last meeting, so I would assume they're already on the list.
Yeah,
Right.
they're all pretty well discussed.
Okay.
Have we received any recommendations from Shauna?
No, we haven't started yet. So the first step would be to generate some ideas. And as Rolf indicated, we do have a list started here. We just wanted to see if there was anything else that you might have. And then we'll, Kurt's got a timeline, but he has not started now.
All right. Then we're going to throw that back at Dawn to come up with some ideas with Shauna. All
Kurt and
right.
I have some ideas. So if you think of anything in the meantime, just get in touch with us.
Okay. All right. Consideration of quick claim deeds. Sue, look, is that you or Sue Carr? No, you are Sue.
He and I are somewhat interchangeable. So I believe you have all of the deeds in front of you. There were 4. It's actually for 2 parcels, but both of them were sold, and each person that owned it had different pieces of the deed that needed to be quitclaimed. So that's why it's kind of doubled. So you've got map 17, lot 24A for Joseph Jensen III, and that same lot, map and lot again for Jeffrey and Kathleen Proctor would be the first 2 that I
Okay.
have.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the quick claim deed on map 17, lot 24A, 23 Outlaw Ridge for Joseph Jensen and Jensen Proctor.
Second.
All in favor? Lonnie?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Next one, please.
And then there's map 50, lot 4 for Jennifer and Kevin Simpson, and the same map and lot for Samuel Knowlton.
But do we need another one on that other one? Another motion for the Proctors on that one? For
Joe
both?
combined
Joe
them.
included both in
We
one.
did
motion.
that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve a quick claim for Samuel Knowlton, Jennifer Simpson, and Kevin Simpson on map 50, lot 04 at 19 Main Street.
Second,
All in favor?
Yes.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Sorry, I'm still working on it.
Nope, that's right. All right, good. All right, now back to, all right, we're done with those. Consideration of town meeting warrant article recommendations. But before we do that, I want to have, I guess, some board discussion on how everybody's feeling about these. Joe,
What?
one of the issues the other night that you had questions about is the library.
Correct.
Because the library can be definitely confusing. So this is why Rolf is going to take this moment to explain it.
Thank you, Ralph.
Well, essentially, we started a little bit after the new year there was discussions between the library and Teresa, and a committee was formed to look at, did it make sense for the library to ask to become a town department? So they went through, their board went through some soul searching and what their mission was, where they wanted to be. They came to the conclusion that it would be a good idea to become a town department rather than remaining on their own. So at that point, a committee we got together and drafted a memorandum of agreement, which outlined how the transfer would take place, what the duties and things would be on both sides, and that the library would retain a 501c3 division that would be used for doing fundraising for some things that they could then give to the library that would be, at that point, be a town entity. So part of that was also looking at overall budgets for a number of years, as well as what funding would come over from the library's accounts and whatnot when the transfer was done. And because they were going to keep that 501c3 area there, it was decided that they would transfer all buildings, materials, and whatnot, including all their assets, funds, and things like that, but retain 15,000 for that 501c3 group. So essentially, everything is, if the town votes to approve that, it's all coming over. So then the other things that were looked at was, from a budget standpoint, what would it take to run that? And because it was going to become a town department, it was looked at that we wanted to have the pay rates and things like pay rates and benefits be the same there as it was with other town departments and things like that. So due to that, that's where the higher figure for benefits came out versus where the library had been. It's something, and then also adding some additional hours, but it's something that the library had wanted to do for years, but was afraid that if they had any major issues come up, that they would use that money that they had. So they didn't want to take the money from their reserves to use that to help pay for those things. But with that coming over there, it doesn't make sense to have one town department have different rates and benefits than other areas. So that's where that came from. But in the discussions, there was also, the funds that were coming over would be designated to be able to use toward the library only, not essentially not to relieve the general fund of the town, but to use against things for the library. So when we get into the discussions on that, it's one of the areas there is taking some of that money to help mitigate some of that increase in the rates and the benefits, in order so that there's not as big an impact in there, with the hopes in looking at things as we coordinate things over the next couple of years on insurances and things like that, we'll be able to recognize some savings in there and hopefully offer some new and different benefits there as well. That's kind of where that all shook out from.
Did the MOU ever come to the full select board for discussion?
Yes, it did. We voted on that on October 12th.
And we signed it, yeah.
I guess I missed that. Or what was in the MOU?
In the MOU, it went through what the big thing was all assets, property, land, buildings, books, and all personal property and monetary assets would come over. It got into how the structure would be as far as having essentially the department head that would report to Dawn, but also being able to discuss and whatnot with that 501c3 group that's going to retain the village library name, because that's what all their documentation was under. So it laid out how the that flow would go back and forth, and that the ability for that Raven Village Library 501c3 to raise funds for things to be gifted to the library.
During that MOU discussion, was the budget discussed? Because I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was a budget that was drafted in there, and that was in some of the stuff that went out last week. But I think you were having problems opening up some of that. But the biggest difference between what was drafted in that budget versus what showed up here was in the wages and benefit area. The other thing that has been found since that last meeting is that $6,000 that's in there for the internet is going to come out, because we can still get that free from the state as long as we still have as long as it's set up that we have a separate line in the budget for the town, for the library, and that's a separate area there, which is what we had proposed anyway. So as long as it's that, and as long as there's the things that were in the MOU are agreed to in there, then the state will still pay that or supply that internet.
And how much money is in the account coming over?
Allison would know that one.
I did well, it's an estimate because we don't know what's going to happen with the investments and that kind of thing. But at the moment, the total holdings we have right now is 252,791. We're anticipating revenue to still come in before the end of the year, about 18,500 from some fundraisers. We had to take out the total restricted items that are like the grant that we received and funds that go to the community garden, and that was 14,821 restricted funds that can't come over. That will probably all be used up before the end of the year. And then we had to take out the 15,000 that was agreed to that would stay with the fundraising board. And then the rest were estimates of what is left in the budget for this fiscal year for the average books and that kind of thing to get us through June 30th. And that came to approximately, the balance transfer would be approximately $194,264 after everything is taken for this year.
Joe, I did send the MOU to you via email.
One of the other things too with the MOU too is that we were going to bring the employees over as employees that with their tenure is what it is. So however long they've been working, the library is considered employees of the town too. Keep losing Lonnie.
I remember the MOU. I just don't remember a budget that showed a 201,000 operating budget.
So
As part of the
It
MOU.
was 190. It was 191,000.
yeah, but Sharice and Allison's numbers were a little bit off is what it was between the two of them. So but even if we wait a minute, the 4151 takeaways, it's going to probably be maybe 90,000 by the time that, because normally we give them the 66,000. And if we take 40,000 possibly for like the wage increases and stuff like that, maybe if we put an additional 90,000. Do you have more questions on it, Joe?
Well, I think you're asking the town to pick up a lot more money than was projected. I mean, I remember looking at that library budget going, okay, 150 grand, not bad. And then, you know, we get some kind of survey and all of a sudden we're spending another 50,000 in benefits and salary. And so I think you ought to use some of that money that's coming over, that 194,000, to soften the blow, to at least eat half of that.
We are
So-
using some of it just for the wages, but it's also in the MOU that we're not going to take their money and it's earmarked for the library.
Right, I'm not saying take all of it. I'm saying take about 85,000 to soften the blow on the library. You're going from a $150,000 budget that was part of that library to 201,000.
So we are down to 195 now because we
Right,
got
and
that
that- So
6,000
that would
back.
take it to about 100. If you take 85, you'd have 109,000 or 110,000.
I don't think we can. That's not what's in the MOU.
I mean, it's not in the MOU. The money
Where-
comes with it.
Well, I know that, but that wasn't the guarantee, I guess, is what we were
Well, I
talking
guess
about.
I was looking at a library budget that was 150,000, not 201,000.
Well, even if we take the 195, again, take it down. You take that 40,000 for the salaries, we're at 155, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so we're
my-
down to that 150.
Yeah, my thinking on the, you know, on the use for this year would have been in the 40 to 50 range to, you know, do that. Because I think when we look at, you know, looking through there's some things that will probably affect what that budget's going to look at next year, like the insurances and things like that, so, you know, we'll have a better cut at it. But yeah, that's, you know, what I thought was running either 40 or 50 to the of that's coming over to offset some of that on that first year. Which is why when we get to that article, there is an area there that's, you know, talking about using some of that money for 20 or 22, 23. Then that gives us the year of operating to figure out what tweaks want to get made and where that budget's going to be for the following years. Changing programs or whatever it may be, but that's, you know, that gives Allison and Don a chance to dive into it and see what, you know, what it wants to look like, how it's going to look like, and where we're going to be going.
Well, you're asking the town to pick up an extra $135,000 is what you're asking. Because
Yeah.
so half of it, I don't have a problem with half of it softening the blow.
I say 50,000. That's just me.
I say 65.
And we settle on 60 and move on.
I mean, you know, right now, we've got to settle on that when we bring that article up, but I mean,
Right,
Right
but I
now-
wanted to talk this out beforehand because I don't feel like the select board has had a chance to do that, is what it is. So the good news, and I know the library before on their own, they had to have these funds because in case something happened, you know what I mean, in case whatever, but this way where, the town's going to pick up on it, pick up anything that needs to be done.
Right. If they have to have it, it's a different story, but they're set up differently, like you're saying, and go as a needed basis.
Right. What do you think? Are you guys good to move on and talk about any other area?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. Is there any other areas you guys have any questions about that you want to bring up? Anything? No?
And the figures that are in the draft here, that adjustment was made to remove MMA, is that correct? Therese?
Yes, that is correct. Yep. I removed the $8,800, $8,081 in dues from a municipal.
You took 20,000 from fire department?
I did.
Okay.
I added 10,000 to code enforcement revenue.
Added money to the TIF for the comp plan,
Yes.
10,000.
And the 10 for the comp plan went into the TIF, right?
Correct.
Are you guys good with the 1,000 for a regional bus?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Are you guys good to then move on with the articles?
I am, yes.
All right. 1 and 2 are, do we have to read those? I don't think so. We already know those.
You don't need to. I put
right.
them on so you could see them and have the information.
Oh, thanks. All right. I know someone last time recommended that we read these out, so I'm going to read them out quickly, if you guys are all right with that. All right, Article 3, referendum question A, to see if the town will vote to, 1, set the date. Yes. Set the date, the first half of taxes due October 31st, 2022, and the second half of taxes due to April 30th, 2023. And 2, set the interest rate for unpaid balances and for abated taxes at 4% for the fiscal year. 3, authorize the tax collector or treasurer to accept prepayments of taxes not yet committed pursuant to 36 MRSA 506 with no interest, and authorize the select board on behalf of the town to sell and dispose of any property acquired by the town for non-payment of taxes pursuant to the policy adopted by the select board as may be amended from time to time, the policy to remain consistent with state statutes and laws, in all cases conveyance to be made by municipal quitclaim deeds. The select board recommends or not recommends?
I
Move
just
to
have a question
recommend.
on that 4%. That's in statute, correct?
That's the maximum in the statute.
That's the
right?
maximum statute, yes.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Article 4, referendum question B, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $2,166,464 for general government services, administration, employee compensation and training, insurances, workers' comp and benefits, liability, vehicle insurance, assessing, code enforcement, parks and recreation, technology, and general assistance. And the budget figures will be assigned as follows. Administration, $516,490. Employee compensation and training, $55,000. Insurances, workers' comp and benefits, $934,087. Assessing, $79,481. Code enforcement, $213,412. Parks and recreation, $153,334. Technology, $204,660. General assistance, $10,000. Select board recommends or not recommends Article 4.
Move to recommend.
Any discussion? All in favor? God, that light's annoying over there. Sorry. All right, Article 5. Referendum question C, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,353,910 for public works. The budget figures will be assigned as follows. Public works, $891,519. Town buildings, $37,000. Solid waste, $381,000. Cemeteries, $44,391. Select board recommends or does not recommend Article 5.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, good. Article 6. Referendum question D, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,207,714 for public safety. The budget figures will be assigned as follows. Fire and Rescue Department, $1,168,669. Animal Control, $39,045. The select board recommends or does not recommend.
Recommend.
Any second?
Second.
Okay, so I got a question. So any negotiations that are being done right now, does that add, does it take away? What about it?
Well, you can't go above what's on that number.
Okay. So that's the max. All right. All in favor? Good. All right. Article 7, referendum question E, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to dispose of town-owned personal property with value not to exceed $35,000. Select board recommends or does not recommend.
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 Second.
Okay. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, Article 8, referendum question F, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate from undesignated fund balance surplus to meet the unanticipated needs of the community that occur during the fiscal year and or to adjust the tax rate as the select board deem advisable in amount not to exceed $75,000. Select board recommends or not recommends.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Great. Article 9, referendum question G, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to transfer funds between appropriation accounts as long as the grand total of all appropriation is not exceeded. Any such transfers to be approved only at a properly called public meeting of the select board. Select board recommends or does not recommend.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Article 10, referendum question H, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to allow town staff to make application for and execute any documents related to a grant, accept or reject grants, donations, and or gifts of money to the town of Raymond, and authorize the expenditure of monies awarded, donated, and or gifted for the purposes specified in the grant, donations, and or gifts. Select board recommends or does not recommend.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead, Lonnie.
No, sorry.
Oh.
I was a little early on the vote.
All in favor? Good one, Lonnie. All
Sorry.
right, Article 11, my papers are all messed up. Article 11, referendum question 1, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to appropriate from undesignated fund balance surplus to reduce the property tax commitment as the select board deem advisable, an amount not to exceed blank dollars.
Move to recommend at 300,000.
I'm sorry, how many?
Second.
300?
Why do you say 300?
That's what we've done in the past, and that gives us some room to work with when we get into setting the rate.
I'll second that for discussion. But Sharice sent out, I asked Sharice how much is in the UDF. She came back with 2.13 something, if I remember the number. Our policy is to set it at about 18% of the budget, the UDF. This would take us way down below that number. As a matter of fact, we're below that number where we are right now. So we would need to be at about 2.5 million. So I'm not sure the best policy would be to take out $300,000.
Okay, so what do you guys want to do?
We're going with a UDF balance that was given to us in March or end of March, early April. We don't know if that's going to grow or where we're going to be. I mean, but am I correct that I got a calculator here. We now have a $15 million budget. Is that correct? Between school and county tax and everything else? Yes, no, maybe?
Yeah, and the other thing, Joe, is that the policy, I believe, is 15%, not 18.
I think
Right.
policy says 18, but
It does.
I think. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, obviously. But let's say it is 15%. That still puts you at 2.25, and we're not there. If my math is correct.
It's an unaudited number, and so we don't know with precision. I don't think it's going to grow to the degree that would make 300,000 possible, but it's a not to exceed number as well. So
Right.
it's going to require, another deliberation and vote. I mean, if you want to set it lower, you certainly could. And the point is well made. I think you've used it pretty
Heavily.
pretty liberally in the past few years. So,
Right.
I mean, if you want to set it lower, that would make sense, but it's also a not to exceed number. So they have that.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have the policy in front of them?
It's 15, it is 15%.
It is 15?
Mhm.
All right, so that still puts it at 2.25. So I'm more comfortable if it's not to exceed 150. So.
You feel that'd be enough? The gut?
No, honestly, I would want more, but I don't think we have the resources to pull more. I mean, we have a AAA bond rating that's affected by our undesignated fund balance. If you go below the 15%, they're going to look at that and say, how come you're below 15%? So it has the possibility of affecting your bond rating. So
it's important to have a little more of a cushion than it is better. So why not say 200?
yeah, I mean, if you say 200, as long as you know you're not going to go above that, and chances are you're probably going to be way below that.
Right.
Yeah. But I think 300,000 way optimistic.
I'm good with 2.
I'll second 2.
I agree with you.
Well, we're dealing with
So
the
you've got,
3 right
you
now.
have to, so what you have to do is you have to.
There was discussion.
Vote on your motion.
No, all you gotta
Once the
do is
motion's on the floor, I
withdraw
don't know
a
what it
second.
is.
If I withdraw my second, we could have a new motion. So I will
Or you could-
withdraw my second.
Okay. In that case, I'll make a motion to accept that with the figure of 200,000.
Second.
Great. Any more discussion? All in favor? Great.
Thank you, Joe, for the info.
All right. Article 12, referendum question J, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $420,000 from the tax increment of the pipeline Route 302 tax increment financing district for FY 2020-2021 project proposed in the tax increment financing district development program. For details, see so-and-so. Select board recommends or does not recommend.
Move to
Recommend.
recommend.
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Article 13, referendum question K, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the Tasseltop Park Enterprise Fund the amount of $109,210 for the administration of activities at the park and to allocate all revenues generated by park operations to be recorded in and retained by the Tasseltop Park Enterprise Fund. Select board recommend or do not recommend?
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right. Article 14, referendum question L, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $299,550 for debt services. The budget figures will be assigned as follows: 2013 Public Works Road Construction Bond, 212,000, 2015 bond payment, $87,550. Board recommends or does not recommend?
Thanks.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope, all in favor? Okay. All right. Article 15, referendum question M, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to enter into a lease purchase agreement for an amount not to exceed $500,000 on such terms as they deem advisable for the purchase for the purpose of purchasing a new rescue pumper truck, and to raise and appropriate to not exceed, it should say, $58,064 for the payment due in fiscal year 2022-2023. And
I
Go
think
ahead.
it needs to say raise and appropriate an amount not exceed.
okay, to raise and appropriate an amount not to exceed. You guys good with that?
yes,
Mhm.
An amount not to exceed. So you got that? Okay. And it talks about the total indebtedness and costs and validity claimer. So select board recommends or does not recommend Article 15.
move to recommend.
Second.
How sure are we on that interest rate?
Sharice?
Just as sure as you are, Joe.
Well, well, yeah, but
You're
if it's
never
a
wrong
lease-
either, are you, Sharice?
Yeah, but
Yeah, I
if-
am.
But I mean, if this is a lease agreement, then it should be, that should be guaranteed in the proposal, right?
They can't guarantee it until town meeting.
Oh my
Huh?
God.
They can't guarantee it until town meeting. It's an estimate today.
So with inflation and rates going up, we might be in a bad position.
Everybody might be.
Mm,
Well, no, I'm saying we're not raising enough money if that's the case. Because your payment's gonna be more than that 58,000 that you're not to exceed.
580. No, my bad. 58.
What's the actual purchase price? All right, so that's a lease, and what's our buyout at the end of the lease?
So Bruce had estimated the cost of this rescue pumper to be $730,000. And when I was looking at his fire apparatus reserve, after funding it for this fiscal year, you would have a little over 300,000. So in the event that there isn't, to stay within the budget of $58,064 in debt you know, we could pull more out of the reserve than we were
Okay.
anticipating at this point.
And that would
What's the
have to be
buy-
at a
what's the buyout
selectmen
agreement?
meeting to use some undesignated surplus money to do that, or move money from one account to another.
Well, you would take, we've got reserves in the CIP for that they're putting equipment in there and things like that. So we, you know, that would be there. But what's the buyout at the end of the lease?
Is it a $1 buyout at the end of the lease?
Usually that's correct. That's how we've structured them in the past, unless we've done something different, which I don't think we have.
Okay.
You're also going to have some surplus equipment, I think, that you're going to dispose of. Is that correct, Bruce? So you've got that as a, with a selectman vote, you've got the cushion that way as well.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're covered.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Any more questions, discussion? All in favor? All right, 16. Hold on. I cannot find, oh, there we go. Referendum question N, Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $890,000 for the capital improvement program. The budget figures will be assigned as follows: Public Works Equipment Reserve, $225,000. Public Works Paving Road Reserve, $410,000. Municipal Facilities Improvements, $50,000. Technology, $30,000. Revaluation Reserve, $100,000. Public Safety Fire Apparatus, $75,000. Select Board recommends or does not recommend? Article 16, sorry.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor? Okay. Article 17, referendum question 0. To see whether the town will vote to carry forward any existing fund balance in the capital improvement program CIP accounts, the healthcare reimbursement accounts, HRA, and the employee compensation accounts.
Move direct.
Thanks.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Article 18, referendum question P, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $817,347 for the county tax. Select Board recommends or does not recommend Article 18.
Recommends.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, Article 19, referendum question Q, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $3,000 for the Raymond Village Library, provider agencies, and regional transportation. The budget figures will be assigned as follows: provider agencies, $2,000, regional transportation, $1,000. Raymond
And
Village
I
Library.
apologize. I
The library
forgot
should
my-
not be in there.
Yeah,
that-
I took the library out when we made the other
All right,
article.
I'm
but I
literally
didn't
reading
take
this,
out
I'm
the
going, this ain't
verbiage.
right, all right. So,
It's gone now.
it's provider agencies, 2,000, regional transportation, 1,000. Select Board recommends or does not recommend Article 19.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Article 20, referendum question R, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the total sum of $1,631,800 from the estimated non-property tax revenues to reduce the property tax commitment together with all categories of funds which may be available from the federal government and any other sources. Select Board recommends or does not recommend Article 20.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Sorry about the whining. My dog's on the other side of the door wanting to come in.
Do you want Sam to read a few of them for you? or-
Sam's coughing. I feel bad for him up there.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah. Article 21, referendum question S, to see if the town will vote to accept certain state funds as provided by the Maine State Legislature during the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, and any other funds provided by any other entity included but not limited to municipal revenue sharing, local road assistance, emergency management assistance, snowmobile registration money, homestead exemption, tree growth reimbursement, general assistance reimbursement, veterans exemption reimbursement, business equipment tax exemption, BETE reimbursement, state grant or other funds. Select Board recommends or does not recommend Article 21.
Move to recommend.
Second, and let the dog in, would you?
Do you hear him?
Yeah, who
Yes,
doesn't?
we can.
It's bad. He's on the
People on
outside the
Door
door.
Road can hear.
God. I tell Ken to come get him. Okay, so I'm kind of looking on here before I keep reading. Where is the
We didn't
one
vote on that one
question?
yet.
All right, here it is. I wanted to make sure that the two library questions are really far apart.
No, they're not. They're Article 24 and 25.
I know.
Far apart from what?
Didn't we want to put the library in the one of them in the beginning for voting for it? Oh, wait a minute. I'll come back to it in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, Article 22, referendum question T, to see if the town,
We didn't vote on 21.
I thought we did.
Moved and recommended, but we didn't vote.
Oh, all in favor? Oh, because Claudia said, I vote second and let the dog in. That's right. Yeah. Referendum question T, to see if the town will vote to authorize the use of town employees and or town-owned equipment or independent contractors hired by the town for maintenance on private roads in special and certain circumstances where in the public's interest. Select Board recommends or does not recommend.
Recommend. Make a motion to recommend.
Okay, second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? All right, Article 23, referendum question U, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the money received from the state for snowmobile registration not to exceed $2,000 to the Raymond Rattler Snowmobile Club for maintenance of their network of snowmobile trails on condition that those trails be open to in snow season to the public for outdoor recreation purposes at no charge, and to authorize the municipal officers to enter into an agreement with the club under such terms and conditions as the municipal officers may deem advisable for that purpose. Select Board recommends or does not recommend Article 23.
The motion to recommend.
Again,
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it's only at like $2,000. I haven't seen their budget or their, anything for them for a little bit, but you can't do a lot with $2,000 nowadays. And I know that the trails, this season, I was told, were very well taken care of, and seemed like that's been the trend. So I know we've given them a hard time for not representing good and this and that and pushing what they need, but $2,000 is good effort out of that organization of men and women, because the trails are good and it's huge for winter, I feel, even though I don't use them unfortunately anymore, but good effort out of them. Just wanted to say that.
But that's all we're collecting in registration fees. I don't believe, well, we might have collected a few $100s more this year. Charisse, any idea?
Yeah, great question.
How much did we collect in snowmobile registrations this year?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is year to date, but it's typically around $2,400.
No.
It's around $35 each.
Yep.
Point of clarification here too. This article is really allowing essentially the transfer of that money from the income side to an expense side, because the actual budget item for that is picked up inside the rec budget. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so what do you guys want to do on this one?
You could always up the amount, Lonnie.
No, if they don't need it, then great. And that must mean they have they have the funds? Because you would think that they would come to us or would get some type of vibe that they're falling apart because the money isn't there or whatnot. But I still noticed that I think they built at least one bridge that I heard this past season, as well as maintained well. So that's good. I think it's still Larry Wood and that whole, group of people, which just hats off to them.
Yeah, I mean, they do a good job for the money they get.
Right.
I think they got some grants last year too, so they,
Yeah.
they're out there looking every place they can too. So.
Good. Very cool.
All right. So go ahead, Lonnie.
No, I was
So-
waiting for your vote.
All right. See, now he's whining even more.
Oh, he's cute.
He's a pain. Oh my God.
Send them to Lonnie's house.
Yeah, I'll train him.
You wanna go out?
He'll be sitting there pretty.
Let's go out. All right. All in favor? Great. All right. 24. Article 24, referendum question B to see. Rolf, read this one, please. I'm gonna let the dog out in a minute. Go.
24, referendum question V, to see if the town will accept as a conditional gift from the Raymond Village Library, RVL, the assets of RVL, including the land, buildings, books, and all personal properties and monetary assets previously raised minus $15,000 for startup costs, as outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding between the RVL and the town of Raymond, signed 10/12/2021, available for view at the Raymond Town Office upon request. Such funds to be set aside in a non-lapsing town account, separate from the general fund, and to be used for the library purposes only. 2, establish the library as a town department. 3, appropriate X dollars from the non-lapsing town library account to be used for fiscal year 2022-2023 for the new library department. And 4, to raise and appropriate blank for the new library department. Select Board recommends, does not recommend Article 24. I would recommend and put in 50,000 in section 3 and 145,876 in section 4.
Second.
So is this the article we should be working off of, or the latest one you sent us?
The latest one.
What he read was the latest one.
It
Yes.
was?
Yes.
Originally, it didn't- yeah, there were
What was your amount in number 1, Ralph?
50,000
That's for 3, number 3.
in section 3. In section 4, then it would, taking that from the budget and taking the 6,000 out would bring that to raise and appropriate 145,876.
Okay. Well, since you read it, I'll second it.
Oh, it was.
I already seconded so we could
Oh.
discuss about it, so we could
All
talk.
right.
about it.
All right. Do you want to do the 50 or do you want to do the 60?
The motion on the floor is at 50.
Okay.
I-
No,
I
that's
won't-
why
I
I'm
will-
just talking discussion, sorry.
I won't be supporting 50. I would go with 60.
Okay. Sam, what do you
And we-
think?
We don't have a number to go with how much money's coming over. So are you gonna put in 195,000?
I will go with 60.
Wait a minute, what? Wait, where's all my numbers I just had? Da, 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 da.
Under number 1,
We're at 195 right now.
right? But
as
during the
far as-
motion, that wasn't put in there, was it?
No, the new motion doesn't have, the new motion, what it did was made reference to the MOU, which says that all
Yep.
those assets come over. Because that true number won't be known until they close the books anyway, because
Right.
because of other things coming in plus expenditures it was gonna do. So the original write-up on that had a figure, but in discussions we went through, it said if you put a figure in there, it's not gonna be, there's no way it's gonna be right anyway.
So when do you put the figure in?
Well, what it does, the MOU says that all those assets come over. So when they close the books, then all those assets, with the exception of 15,000 comes over.
So people aren't gonna know what they're voting on?
They're not gonna know a precise figure there. We can tell them what the, what the
Yeah.
approximate number is, but the actual number won't be known until they close the books.
So when you put in there, as of what, April, whatever date, estimate is $195,000. So people have an idea on what
Yeah.
they're voting on.
Totally agree.
I agree with that.
Or even put in an approximate amount
Right.
Well, not
of 194 or 195, yeah.
I made that suggestion today with the attorney, but he didn't feel as though that was necessary. Or maybe even advisable, if I'm recalling that correctly, Rolf.
Yeah. I mean,
So then people vote for something, and let's say the library decides to buy $100,000 worth of books.
Joe.
Just saying. It probably won't happen, but it might. What happens then?
Well, first off, we got a very, very, very responsible librarian, very responsible. Second off,
Teresa, I'm not questioning her responsibility.
well,
I'm
but no
just
one else
saying
is going to
it-
do it between now and then.
Okay.
So no, Joe, I want to debate on this thing. So the second thing is too, is they also have grant money they still have to use, correct, Allison? Yes.
Right, but people should know what they're voting for.
Absolutely.
All right.
But they're not gonna vote for it.
And I don't have a problem putting a number in there. I wasn't in the conversation with the attorney today. And so I don't have a problem putting a number in there.
My suggestion was what Joe said, was to put an estimate in. And
Yeah.
Phil did not think that was necessary, but I don't think it's anything that's prohibitive. And I agree with the logic that people need to know what they're voting on. That's why I suggested it, but he didn't feel as though we needed it. Correct, Rolf?
Yeah, he didn't feel we needed it. If we put it in, if you put it in to be, an estimate of, 195 or 200, whatever figure you want to say that, as long as it's identified as an estimate to be definitized that, but I mean, the MOU says that, when it's done and it starts, all that gets transferred with the exception of that 15K.
Okay, so what about this, where it says, in the number 1, where it says such funds, second line from that first paragraph from the bottom, such funds, and you put in parentheses approximately 195,000 to be set aside in a non-lapsing town account separate from the general fund.
Yeah.
You guys good with that?
Where are you putting that?
Number 1, Article 4,
No,
number
but
1.
Where in the sentence are you putting it?
Okay, so it says, where it starts, the paragraph and the line starts with request in parentheses.
Yep.
Second line, so it'd be request, parentheses, comma, such funds, and you put the funds in a parentheses, approximately 195,000 to be set aside in a non-lapsing town account separate from the general fund and to be used for library purposes only.
Right, but I would put that estimate after startup costs, comma. Because the startup costs are being taken out prior to that.
No, wait a minute.
So that 195, that 195 accounts for that 15K being retained. So if you
What?
put it prior to that, then there's the question of where is that 15,000 not in that 195? If you put it in after startup costs, then it says that the money that's available after the startup costs are retained is 195,000 approximately.
Well, right, that would be after that. It'd be towards the end.
That's what I'm saying. You put it at the end, you put it after that comma.
Now that you've gone back and forth a bit, would you like to read what I came up with and see if this will work?
I would love to.
listening to what all of you are saying. So accept as a conditional gift from the Raymond Village Library, RVL, the assets of RVL, including the land, building, books, and all personal property, and all monetary assets previously raised, minus $15,000 for startup costs, open paren, total estimated as of April 4th, 2022 is approximately $195,000, and close parens, comma, as outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding between RVL, and it continues the same as you have.
I
Yeah.
make a motion on what she just said.
Second that.
I would second that, yeah.
Okay, well, wait a minute.
Oh,
though.
we have a motion on the floor, madam.
There's a motion on the floor, so
True, true.
So
let's vote on it.
Lonnie, if Lonnie retracts his second, then we can do that. And then the other was, are we amending 0.3 to 60,000, which would then change 0.4 to 135,876.
Okay, so hold on a second. So we're amending several things. We're gonna vote on the whole thing then. So,
Right.
so we're not making a motion, so no procedure rules. But if everybody is in agreement, right, kind of now hold that in your head with what Sue just said for number 1. Number 2 is good. Number 3, we put 60,000 in there. And then 4, it would be, what's the new amount, Rolf?
135,876.
Okay, so retract your motion, Lonnie.
Back my second.
He's retracting his second,
Second.
so it'll be removed as read.
Yes. Again, with the numbers of approximately $195,264 in number 1. Number 2 is okay. Number 3 is 60,000. Number 4 is $135,876. Select Board recommends or does not recommend that.
Recommends.
It's moved and seconded. Lonnie seconded. That was the motion, so it's been seconded.
All right, so any more discussion on this one? Nope, all in favor? All right. Article 25, referendum question W, to see if the town will raise and appropriate 66,000 for the Raymond Village Library. Such funds to be raised and appropriated only in the event Article 24 does not pass. Select Board recommends or does not recommend.
Recommend.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just wondering, under Article 24, if there shouldn't be a note on there saying if you vote yes for Article 24, skip Article 25.
We had some big discussions with the attorneys on this to try and make sure that we had things lined up. And what we need to do is we need to have people vote yes on Article 24, yes on Article 25.
Well, and Joe, what you said would make perfect sense if we had open town meeting. And that's exactly what we would do procedurally. But
Yeah.
with a ballot, we really can't put a note on, please don't bother with this one if you vote yes for this easily.
Okay.
Can you put something like, if you vote yes on 24, then you should be voting yes on 25 as well, just so they kind of get that.
No, because then you're influencing the vote.
Right.
Yeah, you can't, so, I mean, it says in there that, that will only come into effect if 24 does
Yeah,
not. pass.
only, yeah.
But that's the safety valve that says that if for some reason 24 does not pass, then they're not hung out to dry with nothing.
Yeah, because worst case scenario with 2 questions like this is if they both were to fail,
Right.
then we'd be talking a special town meeting, probably.
We love
So
special town
the
meetings.
vote is going to be article by article.
Yes.
We're gonna put a lot of information in the April and May Roadrunner for the town, so we can educate the public on this. So they can make an informed vote. So are you guys good with 25?
Yeah,
All in favor? All right. 26. All right. Okay, samples of the wordings. All right, Article 26, referendum question X, LD1, to see if the town will vote to increase the property tax levy limit of $3,401,749.27 established for the town of Raymond by state law in the event that the municipal budget approved under the preceding articles will result in a tax commitment that is greater than that property tax levy limit. Or LD1, to see if the town will vote to increase the property tax levy limit of $3,401,749.27 established for the town of Raymond and the state law by X number of dollars for a total levy limit of blank. All right, so we have to pick one here.
So, well, you have, these are the two that Kurt suggested that you could do. The first one, as I understand it, says if the budget goes over the levy limit, then we'll increase it to the budget. So it would fix it for this year. The other, what happened in 2014 was the levy limit was raised by 500,000, and you haven't had to look at this sort of thing in the last 8 years, or it's come back 8 years later.
With the current changes we made in the budget, does it put us over LD1?
I don't know.
It's very close. Very close.
Like how close?
Like a lot closer, since you're not going to use 300K.
Very close.
Like probably a little bit over, I would say.
So
I say we go with the first one.
The problem with the first one is you're going to have to do that next year.
All right, say we go with the second one.
Probably. I mean, in 14, you decided to make this problem, go away to some degree for, as Sue said, for 8 years. Many towns, I think it's pretty rare that we've done it just one time. It's happened a lot more frequently other places. And as I pointed out during the budget discussions, I mean, we were starting from a very low number where we were set originally without some of these new departments. So, you're doing some new things. So I don't think it's unreasonable to raise the limit, as you did in 14. Or if you do the first one, you're going to do it this year, you're going to do it next year. You're probably going to do it.
We may not do it next year because we have 2 bonds that are expiring next year.
Well, okay, you may not, but you could. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's really how you feel about it. If you want to do it this 1 year and then see what next year brings, that's a reasonable way to go as well.
when will we have a better idea how close we are to LD1?
I'm
Because we could always go back and amend some of the things we've done to stay under LD1.
Is it that we won't know until commitment, Dawn?
I think that's true. That's the thing. I'm thinking he's not going to know precisely until then. And so we got the audit, we got commitment. It's not going to be in time for town meeting.
I mean, the issue you have if we go with 2 is we then have to arbitrarily assign a new number.
Yep.
Which is what you did, 14 apparently, yeah.
Without really having a good handle on, if we do 1, it gives us the chance to, then if we have to revisit it next year, we can do some research during the year to see where that number should be.
Sounds good to me. I'm just pointing out the differences, but it's one or the other, yeah.
Man, Dawn jumped on that one so quick.
I mean, it's really your choice. I mean, it's going to be one or the other, I'm pretty certain.
I'm just wondering if we can't get under LD1. But,
How much do we have? How much is it though? That's just it.
right, we don't really know.
Well,
Right.
it's worth the time to figure it out.
Well, you're not going to be able to figure out in time for town meeting. I think his calculations were a bit based on the conservative estimates that we're using for everything right now. And without the audited, numbers, he thought it was really close. It could go either way. So it's not, if you have an increase, it's going to be, I think, a relatively small one. if you do it the way Rolf has suggested. And then you can look at what next year brings with some of the bonds retiring, and maybe you don't have a problem. That's your theory, correct, Rolf?
Yeah, I mean, the other side of it is that if when he does the calculation, we don't exceed it, then that article never comes into play anyway, because it only invokes if you're gonna go over that, if it's
Right.
gonna go over that. So that gives us a safety valve that if the calculation says that we're going to, it does. But if not, then we haven't reset the bar yet. But it gives us then the time to look at what we need to do, where things are with what else, with all the things that are in the budget. I mean, when you look at the fact that we've got some bonds that are retiring. We also are accruing some money for reval and whatnot, which, so we have some expenses that are not quote unquote the overall recurring. So it gives us a chance to look at those and take a better shot at what happens. Do we need to go into version 2 next year?
Yeah, well, I think it's a legitimate way to go. And if I were, I'm just going to go out on a limb right now and take a guess based on the fact that everything we're using are conservative numbers. My guess, based on what you did with the budget, would be that, and it is a guess, don't hold me to it, so we might just slightly be under. That's my hope.
From
But
what
if I'm
Kurt told
wrong,
us
if
the
I'm
other
wrong,
night.
we don't have the article, then you have a problem.
Yeah. I would say we're probably going to be under, looking at what Kurt gave us the other night.
That's what I think too. But so you go with the one that Rolf suggests, and then if you're under, great. If you're over, it's a small amount, and then you got next year.
Yeah.
All right, so are we in favor of the first one or the second one?
First one.
First
Because you
one.
don't know what the numbers are for the second one.
Right.
Right. All right, any motion?
Make a motion to accept Article 26, first version.
Second.
All in favor? All right. Article 27, referendum question why, non-binding referendum. Do you support allowing adult use and medical marijuana establishments to operate in, you have two ins in there, the town of Raymond, and the development of an ordinance to regulate the location and operation of those uses? Select Board recommends or does not recommend, or no recommendation. I don't think we should give a
I
recommendation.
don't think we should give a recommendation. The whole purpose of that is to get the feeling of the townspeople. If we put a recommendation in there, that tends to drive voters is going to tend to drive things one way or the other. If we say,
Right, we should
if we
recommend.
have no recommendation, then we
Listen
get
to
the-
Lonnie.
So my
Make a
my
motion.
recommendation would be to make no recommendation.
Second.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right,
Because it's gonna bring business to town. What if?
I think we
Yeah, but
need,
this, well, the fact is,
referendum.
Money off it so we can use it to
Yeah,
regulate it.
the issue
It
here
shouldn't
is
be in one
we're
all in
trying to
one
get it.
referendum.
The purpose of this article is to get input from the townspeople as to what do they want.
True.
If we put in a recommendation, then we're driving the vote one way or the other to the middle.
Right.
This way,
May
we're
not
trying to
get
say,
through.
okay, we're trying to get their input. What do they want? From there, if they say yes, now we drive the whole ordinance procedure and whatnot.
I
This
understand.
A yes vote here does not open the floodgates. All it does is takes us to the next step.
it doesn't knock them out, it just, yeah.
But
And by
somebody,
you,
It's definitely the best way to go and the most fair. So yes, I agree.
And- but by you not making a recommendation, it is not going to say on the ballot, the selectmen didn't make a recommendation. It just won't have anything. So it'll just be the question.
All right, so we're done with those. I didn't miss any, did I? My papers were a mess.
You did well.
Yay, thank God. All right,
It seemed like there wasn't as many articles this year as they usually.
no, that's what's nice. That's what's really nice.
You have another go round for the ordinance changes on the 14th.
Right.
Good.
Put your hand up over her head. All right, moving on. Public comment. Anybody? Nobody. All right. Selectmen comment. Anybody?
I don't really have a comment, but I was curious on the work being done down to the ball field. You know, that down to the senior league field, there was, you know, they're taking out those dugouts, and I was just curious as to, is that field or set of fields finally going to get a facelift, or are we still going to be, got to go to Raymond? That stinks.
Mm.
But so I guess the comment isn't a debate or a discussion. So
No, Nathan. Yeah, Nathan. Because people were asking about the playground down there. Yeah.
We're getting ready to make another stab at putting the playground equipment in down there. On the baseball stuff, Joe's got a plan, and I don't dare comment on it because, to be honest with you, he's been pointing and we've been doing. So I haven't really asked him what he's doing. We took the bleachers out, the dugouts on that back field out because they were rotting and in pretty bad shape. They got blown over by the wind. And
50% of the time, they're underwater anyway, aren't they?
correct. And the playground stuff, we're gonna try to get that in. It's drying up pretty good down there. But the rest of it's just been maintenance to this point. But I think he's got a plan. I'm not sure what it is though.
Maybe we'll get an update for the Board of Selectmen and maybe put something in the Roadrunner.
That's great. Are we going to go to the next level and put cameras up for that area? I mean, nowadays they're so cheap to be able to have them, and even if they don't work, you know, it's better
Yeah,
with a light up there showing that it does, for people just to kind of keep the honest people honest, you know?
So you realize what's going to happen, Lonnie? People are going to say, God, I saw it in a meeting the other night. I don't think these cameras are real, because they said even if they don't work.
Well, then they won't really know. So then
True.
I don't know. I just hate to see that stuff become non-usable just because of that 2% of not nice people.
No, right. Well, we've cleaned up our share of messes down there. Yeah.
No, big time. And we've had many, many, many days of hard work down there to get it just so it's at least workable and usable. And I know it hasn't changed. You know?
Right.
I talked to Kevin about it a couple of years ago, and I think we're going to probably move forward on it. He's got to put internet access in that building first.
Excellent.
Till we get that, we don't have camera ability.
Right. I know I had donated the scoreboards probably close to 15, maybe even 20 years ago, and I'm definitely willing to redonate 2 more or do whatever I can do to keep that experience of, you know, playing baseball up to par. I know I had blast back in the day, and my kids, we talk about it all the time, and their friends. I think baseball, softball, and even that place down on Mill Street, unbelievable memories for many, many years, even if it's just in 2 different locations down on Mill Street. But yeah.
Hopefully this is a new change on it all over again and reopen, you know what I mean? And a new start for it.
It's all about the president and the people underneath them. If they're go-getters like they were back in the day, then we're able to make a difference. But
they're under Joe now. Baseball's under Joe, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Oh, nice.
Yeah. So which is good. They're now under the town with rec. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So yeah, John, let Joe know if he needs any help with whatever. If I can, I've got equipment. Nathan, you know that. Whatever. I'll do whatever to help. Yeah. And again, I'd do that for any organization. I'm just saying baseball because it's closer to my heart, right?
Cool. Thanks, Lonnie.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to go in executive session to
Can
consider?
I ask a question before we do all that?
Yep.
When are our next meeting dates? I've got so many on my calendar that say budget finance. Next, on the 12th, that's budget finance, correct?
That's the Budget Finance Committee meeting. They will make their recommendation on the articles that you just went through.
What about
with
the
exception
14th?
of the referendum?
Do we still have a meeting on the 14th?
Yes, because the planning board doesn't meet until the 13th, so the planning board ordinance changes weren't ready for tonight's meeting.
And then we have one on the 19th.
That's your regular selectmen's meeting, and I apologize profusely.
All right. And just one announcement, I will be doing booster shots at the Windham Hill Church tomorrow from 3 to 6. If anybody wants to come get a booster shot.
I need to. Where are you gonna be?
The Windham Hill Church on Windham Center Road
Oh, cool.
from 3 to 6.
You want me to bring you a coffee?
Coffee?
Anything?
With a,
6-pack? Bottle?
what's that?
Want me to bring you a bottle or something?
Yeah,
So you can
bourbon.
trust me?
Calms my nerves.
Let me put the shot in. All right, I need a motion to go into executive session, please.
Moved.
Nate White.
Teresa,
Department heads need to stick around, or do I need to stick around for after the session?
No,
No,
You
but
can
if
leave.
you were a dedicated employee, you would.
you are
Thanks,
dismissed.
Lonnie. Thanks.
Teresa, this is Bill.
Get some rest, Nate.
Hi,
You too, Bruce.
When you go into executive session, are you going to come back to adjourn?
yes.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
We have 2 executive sessions tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
they'll
okay,
be
thank you.
coming out of, Bill, they'll be coming out of executive session, then I'll put them back into executive session, then they'll be coming out, then they'll adjourn.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I missed who made the motion to go in and who seconded. I'm sorry.
We didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe was getting an update. So I need a motion to consideration of town report dedication pursuant to 1 MRSA section 4056A.
Move.
I would move to select or consider.
We're not quite there yet, Sam.
Oh, okay.
Let me want me to make a breakout room? Yes.
Yes. All right. Can I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So move.
Second.
All in favor? All right, Joe and Sam, you guys are muted. Can I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the report as talked about in executive session.
Can I
Second.
s-
Second.
You like that one, Sue? Any questions?
You know what he meant, Sue.
All in favor? She's sitting there going, yeah, okay, I guess.
It was translated, Lonnie, to instruct the town clerk to proceed as directed.
There you go. I heard that.
Thank you.
That works. All right, I need another motion to go into executive session.
Move to go into executive session under MRSA 4056D.
Discussion of labor contracts and proposals. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right.
Move
Motion to come
out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Did we lose Lonnie?
He's up in the ethers field.
All right. So I need a motion.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor? Lonnie's gonna pop in and we're all gonna be gone.
Good.
Bye.
Talk too much tonight.
Lonnie?
Good night.
Good night.